Up, I've got a really interesting question from Mr. P Ninja, and he's asking about his personal hero, Casey Stoner. Um, his question is, uh, he wanted to know why Casey stopped. He also mentioned how good Casey is at adapting, which is, all great writers I was mentioning a couple of days ago. All great riders have that ability to adapt to the situation, to the changes in grip or changes in how their motorcycle's acting, and and he certainly has that, and I totally understand why. He's your personal hero, Mr. P Ninja. Um, you want to know why he stopped racing, and before I talk about that, I'd like to say how I feel about Casey, and that is his riding. I saw him do something that was truly amazing. I've spoken to his some of his staff, um, technicians, and they said that yeah, he gets Tourette's sometimes, but when the light turns green, he pulls something out of the bag. He makes that machine get the result, and it's really cool to hear because that is something great riders can do. What I saw him do that day at Aragon on the mid to exit of turn seven, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it in a story, because there's plenty of stories about this going around. But, I've raced a lot of years and I've never seen someone do it to this level. And that was right in the middle of turn seven, right where he's trying to make it turn. He got back on the throttle and slid the rear around the turn. So you're talking at maximum lean angle, at the slowest point of the corner. And, people fantasize about this. I fantasize about being able to do that. It was made my hair stand up, and truly awesome. So dangerous to do that in the middle of the turn, so difficult to control. Was wonderful to see. Thank you, Casey. And it is the same. The only time I've seen something with that level of skill, ability with my bare eye, with my eyes, is um, seeing Mark Marquez save the front. Some of those front saves are same sort of like wow. Yeah, I'd put them in the same class. So about Casey stopping, which is the whole idea of this question. I don't know Casey well personally, so I don't know the answer. But what I can do is tell you what I do know, and that is the pressure of racing. To explain it, it is so big when you get to this level. For example, I see it even now that riders in Moto 3 World Championship, which is still big pressure, Moto 2 World Championship, as they move up, they're easy to talk to, they have time for you. They're bouncy, happy, like when they move to MotoGP, you see them in no time at all. Instead of, you can't catch their eye because they're looking at their feet, trying to get some time for themselves. Because I know what it's like in World Championship, in the big class, you've got so many like commitments. Obviously, the ones with your team to prepare the bike for the next session. You've got to talk with them, discuss meetings, what we're going to do what we're going to do for the bike setup for the next session. Then you've got to think about yourself, what you're going to do the next session, riding wise. You need time to think about all this, make plans. You need to sort your gear out, get ready. You know what I'm saying, all those stuff. Then you got sponsors, commitments. You've got to go, I need to go to hospitality to meet that sponsor. Team needs that. Team might need a video. Team needs you to do this. So many sponsors, commitments. Then you've got debriefs. Then just to get to lunch, you've got to go run the gauntlet of people going, hey, so, whoever it is, hey. The thing is, your brain only has so much energy in a day, and if you don't have some downtime, to relax and think and get a clear head before you go back to the main reason you're there, get out in that session, you're just too tired. You actually feel yourself mentally drained. I don't know if you've had to speak in your work, for example, all day. If you do it, if you're wrecked at the end of the day, you're mentally tired, and that's not what you want when you go out on track. So is all of that, and then there's the danger. You're risking your body, and every time you get out of there, the pressure that you put on yourself, that you feel, all of that, and then now on top of that, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with it when I was racing. Is social media, what a nightmare. Like, I've only had the experience of having to deal with it and being judged in that when I started my commentary for MotoGP.com. Um, I'm, 50 years old and being successful at what I did. I have a beautiful little family. I feel reasonably confident. Yes, I care about what people say, but and I can't help that, probably a little bit too much. But then when I did that job for the first year, you get some nice people, obviously, but most nice people just like something or carry on with their day. You get some horrible people that are so horrible and so loud that it's disturbing, and imagine dealing with that as a young rider now on top of everything else. There's a saying, a brilliant one I love, is the problem with the world is the ignorant are cocksure and the intelligent are unsure. And that's what you see on social media. It really is like that. The people that don't know the whole story yell the loudest and the nastiest. And I just totally feel sorry for the young people having to deal with that now, especially in the limelight. So all of that together, I think a rider over a career, when I say rider, a sports person over a career, can only put up with so much pressure, and they're learning how to deal with it every day. But there's a breaking point, and you've got to enjoy your sport. Otherwise, you can't do it at the highest level. You have to want to do it. I always said I would stop if I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't enjoy it, because you put your body on the line, and you wonder often why you're doing it. But if you don't love it, you're never going to get to the top. So what I'm saying is, a rider can only cope, a sports person only cope with so much pressure. And you think about it, especially that MotoGP era, that time of your life, it's super high. And what I've noticed with sports people is that if they have had huge pressure early in their career, often the trend will go that their career will end sooner. It's like they've had bigger pressure for a longer period. And yeah, you imagine being a child, and I know what it's like because I was a junior motocrosser, and at one stage it was the most important thing in my life. I loved it. And then one day, because I was going better, Dad said, you better start training, if we're going to spend this money and start going to national championships and North Island Championship, you better train. And he made me train. And as a 14-year-old, I was like, this isn't fun anymore. I felt that pressure from Dad. He wanted the result. He needed me to. I don't blame Dad. I understand that motocross, the more you train, the better result will be, because you won't fade at the end. But before you decide it is the career choice you want, I didn't make that decision until I was late 18. And before that, it was fun, and I think it should be. That's how it should be until you get to a certain age and you have to commit. It should be fun. Otherwise, it's not going to be, and you're not going to want to keep doing it. You're not going to get the best out of yourself. At a certain point, you can make your decision, and then it's your decision, and you feel my results came after that once I'd made that decision. But the thing I feel sorry about the young sports people these days is they've got to make that decision so early in their career that they never have the chance to really think about it as an adult, and make the career choice. They're still kids, and they've got to make it. I genuinely feel sorry for them. So, just to repeat, I see a trend that the bigger the pressure is, as a child, the shorter the career is often, not always, but often as an adult. You only have to look at Valentino. His father is Graciano, lovely guy to meet. I got to meet him back in '93 at a Diodora Boot annual party, and before Valentino was famous, he was in. Graciano was a teammate of Graham Crosby, who I know, and so he came to talk to me about asking me about Graham. Did I know him? And I do. First time I went overseas was with Graham, and they had some funny stories about each other. And anyway, Graciano's is kind of, I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, hippie like, you know. I've heard stories about him sleeping in his car and lovely, you know. I can't imagine him loading Valentino up with pressure, and Valentino's still going. He's just got the pressure he puts on himself, like most good sports people. I'd like to finish up by saying I would have loved to see Casey race Marquez. So sad for all of us that we don't get to see it.